Okay, so tonight I think we should start talking a little bit about Adar. I think it's a great opportunity. And, every time people ask me to speak by your Sheva Brachas, around Adar season, this is the perfect Sheva Brachas Torah. So if you want to know something to say at any Sheva Brachas close to Adar, this is it. This is the Vart. And it's a famous Vart, famous klal from Mishpatim Melio. We're just going to speak about it a little bit, and I think it's really, really very powerful, and it answers a lot of questions, especially for us learning Megillah. We'll be able to relate to it. So if you ask a simple question, if I would ask you, what is the Jewish season of giving peace to mankind? Right? It wouldn't be December time. Right? What's the season of giving in Judaism peace to mankind? What's the season of giving?
I guess Purim.
Well, so the answer really is that there's only one time a year that... Okay. I mean,
You invite everybody.
Pesach, Moschitim, right? But the truth is that Klal Yisrael has only one time a year that it's the season of giving. I guess the peace to mankind we'll put in parentheses. But the season of giving is only in Purim time. The only time that there is a mitzvah to give. Listen, Meiser is, you have to give Meiser, but it's not Meiser. Yeah.
It's not part of Meiser. Okay.
So, no, I didn't mean to say what I didn't say, but even Meiser Mammon is not necessarily, so Parshas today is the rice at all. It's, a person should give it, you should give Meiser, but it's not really a chiyuv. There's only one time a year that's a chiyuv to give, right? And we even know that for Meiser itself, if you don't have, you don't give. So, but when it comes to Purim, you must give. And the question really is I could think of better times a year when a person should give. Pesach, Moschitim, you said Sukkot. Sometimes you should give. What is it that the main mitzvahs of the day really is Matanas Evyonim and Shalach Manas? And even the Suda has a part about sitting together, Ba'ava, V'reyes. There's a real tremendous focus on giving on Purim more than any other time of the year. So the question is a solid question. I mean, what is it? What's so important about the Yontif that creates that the mitzvahs have to be tied to the giving aspect? That's the question. Now, I think there's a general rule, and the general rule is that when we think about giving, generally giving, we jump to the famous Kuntrus HaChesed from Mishpatim Melio. And he basically asks the question, he says, how does a person give to people that he likes? Is it sort of like you decide I like you, and then I give to you, which is the normal way, I give you presents to people that I like. So Mishpatim Melio says there in Kuntrus HaChesed, he says, well, the opposite is the real truth of giving. He says, the people that, well, not necessarily they don't like, the people that I give to, I begin to like. And the Kuntrus HaChesed says, famous Kuntrus HaChesed says that the one that I give to, that is what I like. And he brings a story there about a parent, I don't know if it was him or someone else, who was during the war, and they were with one child, and this mother was with one child, and she had two children, and one children was hiding with her, and she was spending a year or two just with this child. And after the war, they got back together. The love, the ava that this mother had for this child was definitely beyond the scope of love and care for the other child. And it was just a simple cheshbon, because the more that the mother gave to the child, the more she actually loved the child. So it's the exact reverse. We think in America today, the ones we give are the ones we like. So he says, no, it's the ones we give, those are the ones we begin to like. Not the opposite way. Giving makes you like them more. Exactly.
If somebody you do not like, you don't feel good about that person, what you should do is you should give to them and get them to give.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what it is. And that really creates a whole different mindset of what it means to really create relationships and how to create relationships. Especially if you have a kid at home that, it's hard for the father-son relationship to work out so well. So what do? Take him out to eat, spend more time with him, and then you'll begin to really create that relationship that may or may not have been so easy in the first place. So that's really it's a new mindset. But that being said, so really what happens is that when we create a relationship based on giving, it becomes much deeper. And he also brings down that parents who have children who are special needs, you will create a stronger bond with the special needs child than any other child, right? Seemingly you'd think, well, why? Are all the children the same? The answer is no, because you just spend so much more energy with this child, you create a really strong bond. So that's the classic Kunshas HaChesed in Mechtav Melo. So we just extrapolate with that concept. We say this. There is another, sort of like I get a relationship rule that there could be a relationship that two people have, let's say a husband and wife, and the relationship is sort of one that the husband or the wife or a spouse can give their spouse a tremendous amount of giving. If for some reason the spouse does not perceive that giving or does not appreciate that giving, then obviously it will have an adverse effect. They're giving, it's not really giving, they're trying to manipulate me, I don't really trust them, and there could be all kinds of problems with that. If someone has a problem accepting, a person has a problem to realize that someone's giving is a gesture of love, there could be a whole host of issues that could be brought out of that, which creates a relationship issue.
That doesn't affect the giver, right?
No. But I'm saying from the taker point. Yeah. And also, as Kunshas HaChesed points out, he says that every action of giving, which means hand goes in pocket, pull out money and give you, is not necessarily a giving act, and me taking something from you is not actually a taking act. For instance, I go to my boss, I say, hey boss, I'd like to take you out to a golf game and dinner. And I pull out $500 and I give to him a golf game and dinner. Am I in the act of giving or in the act of taking? Taking, because I'm giving in order to get. Whereas you come home exhausted and your wife has made a delicious supper, but you are wiped. You drove in 5 hours and you're dead. But you know your wife wants to give the supper she made for you, but you have no bread or brain to take it. If you do take that dinner from your wife, are you taking or are you giving? You're giving. You are giving. So the fact that your hand goes in your pocket and goes this way doesn't mean you're giving. It's the context. And the fact that you take from someone doesn't mean you're taking. It's the context.
So,
exactly.
So it's kind of like the effect of it is giving for a ruchnius reason.
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to get holy here. It's very simple. Giving in order to take is taking. Taking in order to give is giving. You could take from someone because you want to give that person, you're now giving, even though you're actually taking, quote unquote. And the fact that you're giving someone for the purpose of taking from them, to manipulate them or to butter them up, then you're just merely taking from them, although it looks like you're giving. So one has nothing to do with the other. It's all context and what's happening here. So that being said, so we now have these sort of like three sets of rules here about what does it mean to create relationships by giving that builds the love that you have between you and another person. The more you give, the more you love. Number two, the way that the action or the direction that your hand is going with the giving or taking is irrelevant. It could be you're giving only to take or you're taking in order to give. And the third concept that we said is that a relationship that has one side who gets something from somebody but does not believe or trust that that's an act of giving, no matter how much they get, it will not create a relationship. It will do maybe the opposite. It's a way of manipulation. You're just giving me because you... And therefore, we have to create a way for the taker to appreciate the giving and understand that this giving is because they want it to be an act of love. Okay, these three concepts we have. So now I'm going to give you a true story. It's a true story. I just heard it yesterday. I was speaking to a person, and they told me about a very wealthy person in Borough Park. I can say his name, but you may know him. A big Askin, fabulously wealthy. He has this magnificent house in Borough Park. He has like 30 rooms that he has for guests, that people who come from Eretz Yisrael. He has 3 or 4 suites for families, right? So with sick children, they stay in his house while they do, procedures in the United States. He had a commercial kitchen that his wife and him, the entire Thursday, prepare for Friday night Suda. 3 sets of Sudas throughout the night that him and his wife serve all the guests, the Mushulachim, and people from Barbach who don't have a place to go to. And basically, this is done every Friday night. And they, till 4 o'clock in the morning, till Shabbos morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, they are serving 3 meals, and the whole day of Thursday. I heard that, I was like, that's incredible. Like I said, the lady told me, I said, listen, whether it's exactly true or not, they don't say that about you and me, you know what I'm saying? That's a crazy story. Now, this is supposed to be a famous person. I know his name, but I don't want to mention, but you may know who he is, of him. When I heard that story, I thought to myself about 2 reactions to that story, right? The first reaction is, that is amazing. That is amazing. That's one reaction. And another reaction is, what's the catch? Nah, come on. What's the catch? Okay, that's what happened to me yesterday. The way the Michtav brings this out is as follows. If I tell you, so now actually this year is from Rabbi Kurzner, who was a big Chaim Berlin Talmud. He was nifter many years ago. I heard from him probably 20 years ago. This was based on Michtav Eliyahu. He said like this. If you hear a story, there are 2 people who hear the story. You hear Reuven and Shimon, $1 million gift, no strings attached. He just gave it to him. Who will believe that story more? A giver or a taker?
Giver.
Who's going to believe the story? A giver will be like, that's crazy, but wow. What is a taker going to say? A taker, a person who likes taking. He's not a bad person. He just likes taking. What's he going to say? Couldn't. Oh, come on.
No,
don't be naive.
He's going to say, what's his number?
No. He's not going to even believe the story. Right? If you ask yourself, when you hear crazy stories, who believes that story? The giver or the taker? So a giver who totally gives is like, that's amazing. The taker will say, don't be naive. Come on. What do you think? You guys just gave $1 million gift for nothing? Right? So it's sort of like it's like a litmus test to know whether you're a giver or a taker. When you hear unadulterated giving, just endless giving, you ask yourself the question, do I believe that story or not? Now, many of us are somewhere in between. Right? But the closer we are to that, like, of course, that's amazing. And we're not naive. That means we understand pure love giving. Yeah? And the more we're like, come on, are you crazy? There must have been some other story you didn't hear about. Then we're closer to the taking side. Not that we're bad, but just that it's a mindset. There's a big problem with Purim more than any other holiday of the year. See, Pesach was giving in your face. You can't get better giving than the Pesach story. Hashem reached crazy nisim, miracles in front of Klal Yisrael and the whole world. You can't get bigger nisim than Sukkot. Klal Yisrael has Ananya Kavod. You can't get bigger giving than Matan Torah. The whole world knew about it. Where's the giving of Purim? Who said there was giving? It was a Ivanka Trump story. Ivanka Trump gets into the White House. She works it out. And guess what? The Jews got Trump making things happen for us. Esther happened to get in. A love story. Right? Someone got killed. Vashti. Love story. She gets in. She swings Achashverosh's heart. Haman. Where's the giving? Where's Hashem's giving in the Purim story? Who's going to believe the giving? The giver or the taker? The giver. How do you become a giver? You better start giving very quickly. Become a giver very quickly. Because if you don't become a giver, then what is the Purim story? Just luck. It all worked out. When you become a giver, then the Purim story is Hashem's unbridled giving. If you're a taker, you don't see nothing. There's no giving whatsoever. It just worked out. It was a lucky strike for the Jews.
You think that the giving makes the whole nature of Purim, the nister, become a nigla.
If you do not become a giver yourself, there is no Purim story.
Right.
It's just luck. It worked out. Ivanka Trump got into the White House. It's all worked out. Trump worked out and all blah, blah, blah. Okay. The moment you become a giver, you're just like humbled by Hashem's giving. You're like, did you see what I like? And there's so many svarim. Shlomo Brev that has right on the Megillah, on the Gra has a whole parish on the Megillah. Every nuance of the Megillah is Hashem's giving. That whole story doesn't exist to the taker. Because, what do you mean? Come on, don't get so naive. You think Hashem made this whole backstory? It was just a coincidence. You have to develop your giving in a very serious way. And the more you become a giver, the more you see Hashem's giving. And that's why Purim, more than any other Yom Tov, the mitzvahs of the day are basically just give and give. And as fathers, we know this. I heard this years ago, so it worked out for me. But we're driving 29 hours on Purim. I mean, literally, you're driving the whole day. Like, where's the me in Purim? There is no you in Purim for good reason. It's all giving. Give to your kid, give to your neighbors. Good. I mean, how much Shachmanis? We're giving and giving and giving, and you're driving 29 hours. I kid you not. Do the math.
That's harder than giving. Driving.
No, right. And it's nonstop, and it's clutching and screaming and yelling and it's giving and giving. And the entire Purim, from the beginning till end, is nonstop giving. It's not a mistake.
Now I understand Purim.
Yeah, it's not a mistake, and it's not a coincidence. It's not like we just happen to get into the giving mode. No, the entire Purim doesn't exist unless you become the giver. That's really the truth, and it's such a powerful thought. It's such a powerful thought. And when you think about that, so that's a real avodah of what Purim's about. Develop our internal giving, become a giver, and you'll see Hashem's giving. And then all year round, you just see, really? Is it like, so when this happens, was it giving or wasn't it giving? Is Hashem giving me or not? Depends if you're a giver or not. You'll see it. And that's really a beautiful concept that really creates a whole new mindset of what Purim is and what our avodah on Purim is and how we're spending our day on Purim and why it's so important to spend your day on Purim. And it should be nothing thinking about yourself. You know, like there's no avodah bigger on Purim than to give others. There's nothing to talk about. Monetarily or not even monetarily. I tell you, driving your kid and nonstop and just giving and just... So that's a really very powerful thought. And I every time I think about that concept, it just awakens so much inside of me throughout the year. Again,
why do we take that away from an availance?
From a what?
An availance.
At a valence minute, you can't give.
My wife's an availance now.
Right.
She's
So
still
you can't.
It's making me a shech, which is fine. So I'm saying, why would we take
Okay, because there are different mindsets that Hashem wants us to have throughout the year. So when a person's an oval, there's a different mindset you better be working on at that point, right? The general Purim is become a giver, appreciate Hashem's giving, and you'll have a world of you see Hashem giving all the time. If you're a taker, you'll never see Hashem's giving. Remember, a taker never sees Hashem's giving, never sees anybody's giving, because it can't be. No one's giving to me. That's for sure. But the Avelis part is like, okay, so now we have a different avodah we got to work on now. Avelis is let's focus on what we lost, and that's another thing you got to work on. And we have a lot of things to work on.
Focus on what God gave me.
Right, 100%. Yeah, but that's actually true. I mean, we know this.
What was given to you.
Yeah, that's what Avelis actually is, because we see that's interesting, because when Moshe and Aaron are sitting Shiva for Miriam, right? So the Medrash says Klal Yisrael comes, a big ruckus of Klal Yisrael is coming because there's no water anymore. Miriam shut off the tap. And they show up to they knock on the door, Moshe Aaron's door, and he said, this is not a good sign because the young people were in the front and the elders were in the back. Not a good sign. And they're sitting Shiva about Miriam. And Moshe says, Hashem, what should I do? Hashem says, what do you think Miriam represented? Giving Klal Yisrael water. Go give him water. That's the best way to bring out the Avelus of what you missed. Water. Go get him. So it's the same concept. That's exactly what Avelus is to realize what you had and what you lost and what Hashem gave you. But yeah, so it's a really powerful thought. And again, developing this concept is so powerful throughout the year because, first of all, it's every relationship that you have, right? Every relationship, a spouse relationship, children relationship, parents relationship. Like, do we appreciate what our parents gave us? Depends. Are we a giver or a taker? It depends what our children give us. The relationship, anything, right? I think this is more relevant for us, for our spouses. I think it's more of the issue because we sometimes don't see it, and it's not because there isn't being done. It's because we don't have the giver glasses on. We have the taker glasses on. Or, like I said, no one's really a taker. Everyone's sort of like in between. But the closer we get to the giving, and through the Michtav Eliyahu's word of Kush Chesed, the more you give, the more you become a giver, and the more you love whoever you're giving to. That concept has to become reality, specifically on the Yom Tov Purim. Okay.
So we give appreciation. That's also giving.
It's the same thing. Remember, it has nothing to do with money. It's give appreciation, give time, give energy. You know, like I once met a Rosh Yeshiva, and he told me, "You changed my yeshiva." I said, "Really? I didn't give any money." He said he once asked me 15 years ago if he can make a parlor meeting in my house. I said, absolutely. He says he never forgot that line, absolutely. I didn't give any money, but I gave him an absolutely. I could have said,
Wait, did he make the parlor?
he made my house. No, he could have said, I could have said this. Should I parlor meeting in my house? Let me find out. I don't know. We'll see. When you said absolutely, I gave all the confidence to him. It didn't cost me anything. He said all the confidence. Absolutely. Right? So he told me that 15 years later, he said, you should just know what that did for my yeshiva. I just felt like somebody's here with me. Like, hineni, I'm here to help you. Right? If I would have said anything less than that, it would have been good too. And I would have brought a meeting, but it's not the same giving.